If you could see your life from beginning to end, would you still live it the same way you do today? Imagine seeing the future, the consequences of your choices, your regrets ahead. Of course, that's impossible, but still, I'll show you a path in this video. 3 ways to try to visualize what's coming and avoid taking a path that leads you to regret in the future. I know that. In the midst of the chaos and craziness of everyday life, worrying about others' opinions, our routine, goals, and commitments can make it hard to consider this. We live in a world that demands patience, consistency, and resilience to achieve and build things. Second-guessing yourself mid-process may not help. Doubts don't build your dream, only action does. But have you ever thought that the certainties you hold on to today might be exactly what will lead you to regret tomorrow? That's what I want to help you see, to show you what only a few people are able to realize before it's too late. When it's time to face the end, it won't matter how much you justify yourself, claim you were busy, did your best, or that life was unfair. None of that will change the fact that regret will be your only companion. So, without wasting any more time, let's go straight to the first point, which is that we should analyze collective regrets. It's funny, we spend our whole lives fighting to be someone, to leave a mark, to build a legacy. But when death stares us in the face suddenly, a lot of things that seemed urgent and crucial lose their meaning. And what's left? That small part, which still matters to us even in our final moments, shows that many times we fought and worried about things that mattered the least.
I spent my whole life afraid of things that could happen, that might not happen. I spent 50 years like that. But you know what? Since my diagnosis, I've slept well.
I believe that at our core, we are much more alike than we think. Throughout life, we accumulate layers, masks, and roles that create the illusion of identity and purpose. And you know what the irony is? The things we create to give ourselves meaning, to connect us, are often the very same things that separate us. What are you saying? Aren't religion, politics, and culture meant to create harmony, unite people, and improve social interaction? They are, in fact, facts. Factors that separate us, barriers that divide us, push us apart, and create enemies. Well, it's not me who's saying that. Our history, and why not our present, also show that humanity's greatest conflicts and destructions have been deeply rooted in these factors. Factors that appear with the purpose of uniting us, but end up becoming the perfect justification to define us by our differences. And of course, our differences are not just differences. They become threats. Threats to everything we believe in and stand for. And you know very well how men usually deal with threats. I'm not the only one who thinks we're more alike than we think. Authors like Joseph Campbell and Carl Jung, for example, talked a lot about the similarity of human psychology, and that behind religions, myths, and stories, no matter how different and diverse they may seem, deep down they're very similar. Unconsciously, they seek to address the same problems and questions shared by all humanity. We're all telling the same story, just in different costumes and on different stages.
We're not that different, you and I.
In fact, I've already explored this topic quite a bit in my video where I talked about the hero's journey. If you're interested, it's worth checking out, but the point I want to make is that if deep down we're so similar, then we can deduce that when we get rid of all these superficial layers that we add throughout our lives, these similarities should reveal themselves. So when we go back to that question of facing death head on, where we're forced to get rid of all those labels and worldly concerns, we start to see things in a purer way and more connected to our essence. And so the tendency is that at the end of our lives, people's regrets are very similar. And that's exactly what an Australian nurse confirmed in practice in her book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. She cared for terminally ill patients for years and heard hundreds of stories. And the most interesting thing is that she began to notice that these people's regrets often reveal themselves. They were so similar that in the end, she was able to summarize all of them into the 5 most common ones. I'll reveal them at the end of the video.
Color. Shut up!
I'm kidding. Here are the top 5 regrets. I wish I had had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so much. I wish I had had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had kept in touch with my friends. I wish I had allowed myself to be happier. Now, it becomes very clear that when we look at these regrets, there's a common factor behind all of them. Fear. The fear of displeasing others, the fear of failing, the fear of appearing weak, the fear of being vulnerable, the fear of not living up to other people's expectations. But where do all these fears come from? And why do most people let themselves be carried away by them? And the answer to these questions might seem quite ironic. When we examine these fears more deeply, we see they're simply derivations. Our greatest fear in life is actually the fear of death. So, wait, does that mean that when we finally face death, we realize that it was the main reason we live this way? It seems absurd. Not only that, but look, the problem isn't death itself. Death is natural, inevitable. The problem is the way we choose to deal with it. Now we reach the second point, attachment to the superficial. What I mean is that to escape the fear of death, we build a series of layers around ourselves. Symbols, ideologies, status, achievements that seem to work like armor, offering us an illusion of immortality. We convince ourselves that if we blindly dedicate our lives to something greater, to a specific purpose, to a cause or some deity, maybe we'll be rewarded for it. And in this blind pursuit of that reward, whatever it may be, we end up shutting ourselves off from everything else, as if that dedication were the only thing keeping us going.
The land is dry, our life is lost, but our faith in you never wavered, and now we await the promise of eternal reward.
Ha ha ha! He thinks there's an eternal reward. No, I'm sorry, there's no eternal reward for you, dog.
And we have several examples of this. Take wealth, for example. It's one of the greatest icons of this illusion. We often think, even subconsciously, that collecting possessions and rising in status helps shield us from death. It's as if through these achievements we could trick nature and guarantee a kind of symbolic immortality.
It's just money. It's made up pieces of paper with pictures on it, so we don't have to kill each other just to get something to eat.
We want to believe that if we leave a legacy, if we are remembered in some way, our existence will be eternal. Technically, what we're doing is trying to compensate through culture for the limitations that nature has imposed on us. Obviously, this is nothing more than a search for a false immortality, but still for many it seems much better than the idea of simply dying and being forgotten, as if being remembered were a consolation prize in the face of the inescapable truth that one day we will be nothing but dust. But I keep wondering, what if all this blind devotion to these great causes is a lie? As if from above someone was watching all of this, amused, laughing out loud, while watching the spectacle we've created. Our search for meaning might just be an ironic comedy, where our fear of death is what controls all of this, and we, without realizing it, become characters who perform day after day, a play about the trivialities we feed to make ourselves feel heroic and important.
There are always more followers to replace you. Suffering for your gods is your only purpose. After death, there is only death for you.
We get so focused on our heroic role that we lose sight of the bigger picture. We tell ourselves we're essential in this story, trapped by the idea that these superficial layers like status, positions, relationships are what define us. We think that losing one of these things could mean losing everything we are. But what if we removed those layers? What if we got rid of those masks of success and heroism that often only serve to hide our deepest fears? And all those repressions we'd rather not face? Would we be able to live without those illusions? Is it possible before we die to realize what truly matters? And based on that question, I want to invite you to come and check out the series I developed, The Key of the Three Dimensions, a series unlike anything you've ever seen, with 10 episodes and over 4 hours of content. I'll take you on a mental journey to understand yourself and human nature. Face your fears, question what defines your life, and break free from the cycle of illusions. Watch the trailer in the description to learn more. But getting back to the video, when we analyze the way human beings have developed and evolved over the years, we realize what inevitably leads us to the third and final point of this analysis: the inability to live according to one's own beliefs, the inability to be authentic. We learn to seek safety in conformity, and this is where that idea of heroism becomes even more distorted. We're led to believe the hero is the one who sacrifices himself for a country, cause, or principle. But is that really heroism? Or is it just another excuse, another social trap, so that we keep running with the herd, believing this is the greatest act of courage we can perform? Everything leads me to believe that this view we have of heroism may be a tool to keep us under control. Believing the hero is just someone who goes along with things and dives into war or violence just because they told him that's the right thing to do. Many times, this kind of sacrifice is nothing more than cowardice disguised as courage.
What do you want me to do? She gave me an order. Do you think I'm a coward? You're wrong. I'm not a coward.
Consider the countless lives lost in wars that are merely power games and sacrifices that only strengthen violence and oppression rather than serving humanity. Consider, for example, Hitler's Nazi regime, which glorified domination, destruction, and violence. And it still mobilized millions of people to sacrifice their lives in the name of a perverse cause. This type of heroism isn't truly worthy of the name. It's a distortion, a psychological trap that leads men to sacrifice. Sacrificing their lives for something that brings no real glory only continues the cycle of power and death. Now, relating it to daily life, consider the heroism linked to acquiring material goods. Today, we are led to believe that we are winners when we show off our new cars, our designer clothes, our mansions, as if these achievements give us the status of modern heroes. But this is just superficial heroism, trading real sacrifice for empty symbols of blood. But one thing is certain in the end: when death shows up at the door, and believe me, it always does, all those symbols, achievements, and titles you fought so hard for will disintegrate. It will be just you, face to face with your own truth. But of course, who cares? That's a problem for later. Leave me alone. Let me live comfortably with my life. That's why most people only realize it too late. And then there's not much left to do, just wait for the inevitable. And you know what? Maybe this feeling of regret is even part of the great human spectacle. Living as if we're in control, only to realize in the end, we never were. If you like this video, you'll probably also enjoy these two here. But if you're looking for something deeper and more meaningful, come check out my series. Watch this video and learn more.